Because I'm going to turn the microphones on. And then I'm going to turn us on. Wait, what?
You're going to leave the music playing?
Nope, I'm shutting that off right now. And then here we come. I'm doing side by side.
What?
Hello, Internet.
Hola, Internet.
New format. Because I'm crazy like that.
You'd rather look closer at our faces.
Yes, I thought this looked a little more personal. I thought it gave us a little more better screen real estate.
I feel like secretly it was just his way of wanting to not tell me to clean my room behind me.
And what's neat is if we ever have a guest, this format works a little better because we can move things and squish them aside. And so there's that. So welcome to our podcast. This is our bi-weekly podcast where Ryan and I just chit chat and talk about nerdy things, whatever we want: board games, video games, comic book, movies, TV shows, or just stare lovingly into each other's eyes. I don't know. We'll see. Last 2 hours, it's 9 to 11. And when it's done, we'll put it on my YouTube channel, which is linked down below if you're watching this on Twitch. And if you're watching this on YouTube, well, welcome too. Leave comments below. But if you want to catch us live, you got to do it on Twitch, and then you can chat. There's a chat window. Nope. That way.
On that side.
The smaller frame. I don't know where to put my hands. So welcome, everybody, and anybody who shows up. And we're here. So as is tradition... Now, I didn't warn you before this. We aren't allowed to mention the thing that's going on because I want to test the YouTube algorithm because we have dropped off on the last the last 3 or so podcasts where we mentioned the thing that is happening. And we went from like 50 or so average views to like 8. Now, maybe it's just because we're terrible and people have figured it out.
I would say it could be just that all of our close personal friends and acquaintances have decided that it's not worth listening to us anymore.
That's very true. But there's also a lot of people talking about if you mention the thing, YouTube instantly deranks you and demonetizes you. Not that we get monetized or ranked anyway, but I'm just curious. So how is your thing going?
My thing... is going good in the sense that I have been disc golfing 3 days in a row now.
Nice.
Which has been wonderful.
I miss the disc golfs.
Well, let me tell you, when you have a chance, if you have a chance to do it at some point this summer, there is a brand new course at the Kingsley Civic Center. And I did not know existed. Apparently they put it in last fall.
Like in addition to the one they had?
Yes.
Nice.
So I have played the other one twice, and as we finished it yesterday, some lady who knew the folks I was with stopped and was like, "Oh, did you guys play the new course?" And we were like, "What are you talking about?" And she's like, "Yeah, there's a new course right over there." And it's basically, well, people listening won't know anything about this unless you're from Kingsley or Traverse City area, but basically where they have like the walking track that goes around the soccer fields, and there's like the kind of foresty area on the other side of that.
Yep.
The first hole is just inside of that and goes along like through, like it's like 5 to 10 feet of trees, but then it like just follows the track basically going towards the subdivision. And then it just expands back that way. And I went and played it tonight just by myself just to play through it. And you could tell that it was designed very specifically for people who knew that there are serious disc golfers in the area, and that Kingsley was not considered a serious disc golf course by those people. And it's really well done. They didn't have a lot to work with land-wise, but it's very creative and it is very well laid out. And it includes at least 2 ridiculously long bomber holes. And by ridiculously long, I mean they didn't have signs
300 feet or 500 feet?
Like 500 or 600 feet.
Okay.
There's one that probably
that's serious pro level distance to me.
Yeah, there was one long hole that looked like it was going to be like a 400, 500 foot long hole, but it went over a ridge, and I just assumed the basket was just over the ridge, and the ridge ended up being like 2/3 of the way to the actual basket.
Oh wow, that's impressive, and I like that. When I played a lot, my best probably good throws are 300. And I'm no pro by any means. I would say we are amateur, better than just random people going out in the woods when we were going almost three
When we were
times a
going
week
all
or
the
more.
time. Yeah.
And my best throws were probably somewhere in the neighborhood of like 300 feet. I was always very happy with those throws, but I definitely have watched some of the pro stuff videos on YouTube, and a lot of those big throwers chuck things 500-600 feet, and it's pretty ridiculous to watch those dudes.
Yeah. No,
Well,
they can.
I'm glad you're getting out of the house. Disc golf is always a good reason to get out of the house.
I like it.
My biggest disappointment the last 2 weeks is I ordered a brand new mic setup, and I'm very excited for it. I think it's going to be a good upgrade, and it's going to look way cooler than this mic. I like this mic a lot, and I highly suggest if anybody's looking for a very cheap mic to get into things, especially just podcasting, this thing is stellar. It's some Ars Technica USB thing. I can put a link in the description later if anybody's curious, and it gives you a lot of flexibility because it's both USB and XLR. So if you want to start out just doing USB, it sounds pretty good, and then you can always upgrade to XLR stuff with like a kit and tweak your sound. But I have a better Ars Technica or Audio Technica. Ars Technica is a website. Audio Technica mic coming. That's a broadcaster mic. It'll look cooler and sound better, and it's only XLR. But because of the thing, Amazon has went from 2-day Prime shipping on everything I'm ordered to now. I ordered it last Monday, and it won't be here until Wednesday. It didn't ship until Saturday for some reason. So it didn't even leave the warehouse, which is quite crazy to me.
Well,
but it is what it is.
It is what it is. I can understand not necessarily doing the Prime shipping and everything when everybody in the world essentially is ordering online right now. But I feel like going from 2 days to like I haven't really ordered much of anything from Amazon, but my brother uses my Prime account, so I see his orders pop in all the time. And he lives in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and we have a Amazon warehouse right there. So if it's something that's in stock there, he usually still gets it like within the day, 24 hours. But every once in a while, if it's something that they don't have there, then like I'll just see like shipping date to be determined, and I'm just like, I feel like you guys should have enough handle on this to know when it can ship.
Right, it's been long enough and stuff, but I don't know what their situation is, I guess, and it's just kind of weird. First world problems, right? Is I'm not getting my stuff in 2 days. I also ordered some.
It's like it's 1996 or something, and I'm ordering from a mail catalog.
Yes.
What the heck?
14 days just to get the check there. I also ordered some sound panels to put on the roof and on some of the more bare walls. I don't know. I just felt it was a cool thing for $20, so you could get a bunch of sheets. And that one is still set to be determined. I have no idea. I said it was in stock, but has no idea when it's going to ship. So. It's definitely been weird dealing with the thing on these other items because when it first went down, I was still getting packages in 2-3 days, no problem. But now all of a sudden we're not, but it is what it is. Other than that, my last 2 weeks have been pretty non-eventful. I was also going to mention today is May 4th. So may the 4th be with you. It is officially Star Wars Day. They have talked about some Star Wars news. I'm sure we'll get into that. But more importantly than anything is if you're not watching, we are playing Gloomhaven, a tabletop simulator. That is one thing that has been filling our time over the last couple weeks, and we just finished our 5th session, 6th. We've done a handful now.
Yeah, we've done quite a few. I couldn't tell you.
Picard is Luke's father. Spectre Speed, welcome. Yes, Picard is official canon is Luke's father. You mean robot?
I'm not sure.
Spoilers.
I'm not sure how many sessions we've actually done, but I feel like it's been 5 or 6 at this point. But.
So Thursday nights here on the channel, if you are interested in watching a couple hours of Gloomhaven being played, we try to play one scenario per stream. It takes about 2 to 3 hours, depending on how fast we go. Maybe 4 if we're going really slowly.
Just the scenario itself.
But it's loads of fun. You get to watch and see the game played, and
arguably one of, if not the best board game ever created.
Yes, so. It is quite fantastic, and I super enjoy it. So Thursday we'll be back to that. We also have been playing. We played on the weekend too, so it's definitely on Thursdays. Maybe one other time during the weekend. We did try to play it once during the week when I had to work the next day, and that one happened to go till 1 in the morning.
Longest night we ever had with it.
Yeah, so I kind of am putting the kiboshes on that because there's definitely no way I want to get into that and not finish it. So, and I can't risk going to the middle of the night, wee hours in the morning when I got to get up early to get work done.
Which is understandable.
Just updating this real quick. Got to put it in Discord too. We have a Discord if anybody's interested in hanging out in my Discord. Details in there right now, just hanging out by himself apparently. And live on alerts. Get in here. For some reason, D-Tao doesn't want to hang, or Spectre doesn't want to go in there and hang out with D-Tao. It's fine. It's cool. Oh, he probably AFK'd out there on that channel. Anyway, yeah, go hang out on our Discord too. We can talk about stuff.
Because Discord is the cool place to be.
It is really the cool place to be.
There it is. Okay.
So any other chit-chat small talk you want to talk about? Then tonight's beer is again critterless.
Oh, very nice.
Of this stuff.
Very nice. I am beerless tonight, but I do have a giant cup of ice water. So
I also have a giant cup of water, but it's not ice water; it's just water.
So mine is dramatic.
You got
the first decent X-Men movie after the tremendous flop and horrible thing that was X-Men 3: The Last Stand.
I have a larger appreciation for X-Men 3 now that I watched the Phoenix movie.
Listen, when you no. Watching something that is an utter train wreck doesn't suddenly become better because there's a bigger train wreck that happened 20 years later.
I disagree. If a bomb goes off next to me that's much smaller than a larger bomb, I'm much more appreciative of the smaller bomb.
Okay.
It hurts less. They both aren't good, but it hurts less in comparison. Everything is relative.
The smaller bomb went off in closer vicinity to my heart.
That's true.
The larger bomb, I was well distanced from by the time it went off.
100% true. I really did. I almost can't remember. Wolverine Origins was hands down the best. So one thing I love about... If you were to
make the argument of the first half of that movie, I might actually give it to you because it started well and then it went to shit.
My favorite story about Wolverine's Origins, which is why it may be close to my heart for a long time, is so everybody knows you can download movies, right? Oh, evil FBI is going to come for you type thing. Yes, it's a thing, right? The mysterious dark web where you can find movies for free. That movie leaked so hard, and everybody remembers that. But what I don't think they understand is that I went over to my parents' house, and they had a copy of it. I didn't get the copy for them. The fact that my parents had a burned DVD of the leaked copy of Wolverine Origins before the finished special effects were put in blew my mind. I was like, how, what, who, how? Don't go arrest my parents. We got rid of the copy. It's fine. We never distributed it. We never distributed it. It's fine. You're not a cop, are you? But yeah, it was amazing. I'm sitting here watching this with them. I went over to their house and it's like the claws aren't finished. There's still wire working in the movie, but we watched it. We had a good time watching the movie together.
The best part about the whole leak with it, like not having the final visual effects and everything, was when you actually watched the final visual effects. They looked like somebody copied and pasted the 3D models from the reboot cartoon over top of Logan. They were horrible.
Well, to me, what it felt like, and it was very apparent in my mind anyway, is this already leaked. It's already been downloaded 22 billion times. and let's just finish this thing, get it out the door, because it's over. It's over now, and we're not putting any effort into this at all. Like let's just ship it. Like, so they fired all the good graphics people, put them on different movies, and just had like the interns finish off some of the graphics and then ship the movie so they could get some kind of release on it, which is fair enough. I mean, I cut your losses, I guess, but it was comical in a good way, and quite literally Deadpool is the best thing of that movie. So they expect it.
Until the end, but yeah.
Well, it's the best part of that movie because it gave so much fodder for him to do it right. So I mean, so much good comes from this movie, even though it's so bad. God, I don't even know where to go with that. Wolverine's Origins is terrible. I would say, what was the next one? They had
well, after that was First Class.
Yeah, I don't care about that. What was the next Wolverine movie where he goes to Japan? Was that the one he goes to Japan?
Oh, just the Wolverine. Yeah,
that was actually not too bad. I liked it.
Yeah,
the samurai canon stuff was a bit off, I felt, but for the most part, I really actually enjoyed that movie. I like it took a little bit darker tone. It treated people a little more like grown-ups.
The first one that James Manigold, or whatever his name is, took the helm of, and he is the guy who eventually went on and made Logan. So I mean, it makes sense that it was kind of a step up. Still had the very mid 2000-y feeling like bad guy characters, which I feel like that was a problem for a lot of the X-Men movies.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It was, like you said, it was a step. It took what they already knew for a long time and then just kind of gave it a little more edge, which was nice to see. And it was well filmed. It was good. It was a nice standalone movie, which was nice. We're not saving like the whole world at like a cosmic scale.
Yeah.
And it was just Wolverine. It was good. I liked it.
It was.
I miss X-Men. How are we talking about all this X-Men stuff? Today is Star Wars Day.
It is.
Shouldn't we be talking
about Star Wars? Now they're like cousin universes, so it's fine.
They're crossing universes. We're having a mixed match. Yeah, so I guess maybe we'll kick it off with that. You sent me that article. Maybe you should say his name because I'm going to destroy it.
What is it? Tiki Waititi or something like that? I don't know.
Taika Waititi. He's
from New Zealand.
But he's of Thor Ragnarok and the final episode of The Mandalorian fame, I guess.
Also, the Hitler movie.
Yeah, the Hitler movie. That won't get us deranked. Jojo Rabbit, which was I have not seen. It's on my list, but I got all sorts of accolades during the season of accolades. So he is apparently slated to make a Star Wars movie.
Good.
That's it. That's all it says.
All it says.
We don't know what the story is going to be or how it's going to work or when it's going to be out or anything from the looks of it. But
the fact that they still haven't gone into production on the upcoming Thor movie, which has a date of I think like a year and a half from now or something, means that it won't probably be until at least after that until you get started.
Yeah, I'm guessing they won't sneak it in with less than a year and a half before. I mean, that's still a ways out, but for a movie to get ramped up and be made and a script written, and I'm assuming it'll be after that. So
it's funny to me, like with all of the different, at one point confirmed different people who are supposedly working on Star Wars movies, how after Disney just kind of shot themselves in the foot with most Star Wars things, they just kind of go like, well, let's not. And this guy's really popular and makes good Marvel movies, so let's have him make Star Wars. I wonder if this is the one that Kevin Feige is producing.
Yeah, I'm kind of game for them to just start throwing Star Wars out against the wall like spaghetti and see which thing of it sticks with different directors and storytellers. I mean, they've broken it, right? It's broken. Like, I don't know any, even the most diehard Star Wars fans that I've talked to have some apprehension of even, like, I know some people that no matter what, they love the movies, and that's fine. That's great. Enjoy it. But even the worst ones that I know, offenders of this, still have some apprehension of those last movies. Like they will still be like, it was, it was good. And it's like, I feel like they've broken it. It's done. They've had some, like, it's successful money wise, but everybody knows they're kind of garbage in some level.
Yeah.
I think it's time to start like just testing the waters with just new stuff and not be afraid and stop letting Disney, like the corporate head figures, like come in and control everything. And now it's different. Like if Feige's coming in and doing the like treatise of it, like he did with the Marvel movies and directing like a universe, that could be different. But still, even the Marvel films, they had their like tone so that you knew it was a Marvel film, but they did give some leeway to some directors, and that's how you get things like James Gunn doing Guardians of the Galaxy and this guy doing Ragnarok, and you had some really good movies in there that were, even though they kept the tone and kept the canon, they still were allowed to go out and adventure and figure some things out. And it would really be nice to let some people just do a Star Wars movie. People who love Star Wars do an actual thing like The Mandalorian. The Mandalorian is a great example of what I'm talking about. It's the best thing to come out since the Return of the Jedi in my mind for this universe. And you basically took the guy who did Iron Man and said, go at it, do whatever you want. And he basically did. And it's amazing. Do more of that. Do it. Hopefully they're learning their lesson. Because I would like to start having May Force where I'm not just utterly drinking myself under a table because everything that's come out in Star Wars since I graduated high school has been complete garbage.
I would still stand by what I said, what I have said for years at this point, that The Force Awakens was a really solid movie.
Yep.
And yes, there were some very blatant and I think on purposely done or blatant and purposely done correlations to A New Hope, which maybe may have pushed a little too similar in some ways, but it was done purposefully, and I get it. But the characters and everything that came out of that and like the bounce off point, it was done in such a way that like the newest trilogy could have really been something special. And then they gave it to somebody who doesn't care about Star Wars and just wanted to make a movie that was not what people were expecting, which is good. You want to do not what people want to expect, but you want to do the thing that they don't want, that they're not expecting, in a way that feels like Star Wars, which The Last Jedi did not.
Right.
And I feel bad. I have always been a rather big Abrams fanboy. Like both of his Star Trek movies, you can make the argument they weren't very Star Trek-y, but I really like them.
They were fun movies to watch.
Yeah, they were fun movies. I like most of his TV show stuff that he had a hand in starting up. I've enjoyed.
Yep.
And even like that, crap, I can't remember the name of it now, but like that Spielberg-esque kid 80s alien movie. That
8mm?
I don't think it was called 8mm.
Oh.
I think I did have a number of some sort in it, but anyways, he does stuff and I really like him. And especially having heard now, like after the fact, a lot of the like people from his crew and everything who kind of had his back.
Super 8?
Super 8, that was the one.
Yeah, that's what I was going for. 8mm was that horror movie with.
Yeah, I was gonna say
that murder thriller movie with Morgan Freeman or whatever. Yeah, Super 8 was what I was thinking of, though. Yeah, that's a great movie.
But I think so. My point being, like, I feel like JJ probably could. Most of the plot beats in the last movie weren't bad necessarily, as far as just like from overarching plot wise, but just the way everything got pushed together. And then having heard from a lot of the production crew after the fact that like a lot of the stuff that Abrams was promised going into it, Lucasfilms and Disney just kind of took away. Like it makes me kind of, I just kind of wish somebody could have, who is a artist, for lack of a better way. Yeah, sure. But I just mean like that. This, like you were saying, as far as just give it to somebody and let them just throw something against the wall and let it stick. Because I feel like the movie we got, while it was passable, didn't live up to like the vision of a single-minded person who knows how to make a movie. like that wasn't a JJ movie for even, which
Right. So, I mean, the first one that came out, the Force Awakens, when I walked out of that theater, I had already identified it as a New Hope remake, but I was really excited. And the first
yeah,
thing I
you
said
had
to
tears in your
everybody,
eyes.
yeah,
Like I walked up to you after the movie in the theater still, and you were like sitting there wiping your face. I'm like, I know it was just a New Hope, but it was so good.
I'm sure that's how I cry a lot in public. But the first thing I think I said to anybody or whoever was there, I don't even remember, was like, that was great fan service. You have to reboot after what happened with the prequels.
Yeah,
All of us people want something familiar to grapple onto. So I give it a ton of credit to say, let's go. Yes, this is New Hope, but with its own spin, with brand new characters that we can branch off from. We all love the new characters. We're all super excited, and the absolute thing I said was, as long as this is the end of the fan service and we start with a new storyline, then I'm okay with hooking people back in.
sure.
That's a very tactical move. I wouldn't have wanted to do it myself, but I totally understood it, and it was done in such a good, kind of tasteful way. It even made fun of itself, which was nice to see that it was like, yes, we know we're doing this, but we're doing it for a reason. Now throw all that crap away and let's move on with the storyline with these
And
new
then they threw all the
characters.
crap away, but they
But
threw away Star Wars with it.
yes, you threw the baby out with the bathwater, I believe is the expression. And it was like, ugh. And I know we go over this a lot with our Star Wars talks, but it's like, it's hard not to talk about it on the Star Wars Day, right? It's like, where are we and where are we going to go? And it's such a disappointment because that Ryan Johnson or whatever his name is, like, I think he could have made a great movie. Like, I was just reading there was an article on CBR or something where the voice actor who does a lot of Star Wars stuff was agreeing with the fandom that he didn't think that he knew Star Wars at all. And it was like, was it in that article or somewhere it was talking about, how did they put it? Maybe it was I don't know. I'll just make up my own version of it, where it was like, you can make a new recipe for this cake, but you have to know how to bake the cake first, right? Like,
Right.
or like if you want to remake a song, you have to have the original song and know how it works first before you can remaster or remix it, right? Like, there's all these different analogies you can use where, yes, you can make it your own and you can do cool new stuff and even almost make it unrecognizable, but you have to have that base knowledge first. You can't just go in and change it, right, without knowing the original works first. And
Yeah.
I think we all know at this point that's what happened. Like, he really didn't know what he was getting into, and he's I think he's not maybe brilliant strong, but he's a great filmmaker. At least he knows how to make films.
Yeah. And to his credit, if they hired him knowing that he didn't really know Star Wars,
it's not his fault, really.
That comes down to the producers to have somebody there with him and be like, that's a great idea, but it doesn't work. Here's why. Let's figure out how to make that idea work in some way that's a little different, like that fits. And like it, I mean, I can guarantee you that the Marvel people do that sort of thing all the time.
Sure.
And to your point from earlier, like, granted, there are some directors who just can't work with Marvel because Marvel does have a very clear, like, this is the vision we want you to aim for. But like the same thing should definitely be true of Star Wars. Like, there is a vision for
there's
Star Wars.
guardrails there. There has to be guardrails there to keep you, to make, or else it's not Star Wars anymore. If you want to make your own sci-fi movie, go make a sci-fi movie and just do whatever the hell you want. That's fine. But if you want to make a Star Wars movie, you have guardrails you got to stay in. And I'm loose. Like, I'm happy to see Star Wars in different flavors. I'm like I'll go back to the Mandalorian every time. And you could say, yeah, well, it's in the tone of the original movies a little bit, maybe, but it's far more spaghetti Western than I think even the original films were, right? Like, it is hardcore spaghetti Western Star Wars. And I am okay with that. Just like I would like to see somebody go the other way and make a hardcore, like Ronin Samurai, because that was like kind of the two major influences. If you listen to a lot of, is the samurai movies and kind of spaghetti Western movies kind of smashed in one, but put it in space. Like, that's how I feel about take the other side of that and go, or just make like Thor Ragnarok Star Wars. I'm okay, but you have to Firefly Star Wars. Let's go. But well, Firefly would be a good example of you just making a sci-fi film that is a spaghetti western. That's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Build your own universe if you want to do that. Don't take Star Wars, which is its own thing, and just mess it up. So the question I have is, yeah, Fox can fuck off because I mean I got the fucking Serenity above my head there, like
so many things.
Yeah, but did it? I don't. We're on Star Wars right now. You're gonna get me on a tangent. Here's the one thing about the Fox cancellation of Firefly. Would Firefly be what it is today if it didn't get canceled in a tragic way? And where would Abrams be where he is today? This might be one of those beautiful accidents that the cancellation of it is what helped make it such a cult classic, because all these people were like, oh my God, you guys see the show that got canceled. And that gave it a lot more weight. And then it's like, maybe that actually helped it become more popular and made the other guy so popular. And it's like, maybe it was okay that it got canceled. I mean, that's terrible, but maybe it was okay. But anyway, back to Star Wars. I forget where I was going, but I want to see different flavors. Let's do it. But you got to stay inside the guardrails. This is the same thing as comic book nerds, and we get made fun of for this, and we're just these trollish white guys. Don't change our stuff. It's not that we don't want to see new versions of our stuff, but we want to see the stuff. And to maintain a character, this is like the weird thing where like you can't have a conversation about gender swapping or race swapping or, sometimes it doesn't matter and it's fine. And you kept the spirit of the character and okay, let's go. Nobody's going to care. But sometimes that actually changes the character and it's not that character anymore. If you want your own character, then go make a new character and do it up. Nobody cares. Ghostbusters might be a great example of that. It's like you were just riding on the name to sell something that doesn't work, right? And it just didn't work. It doesn't work. And it's not even that they're female that made it not work. It's just the people didn't understand what made the first movie tick, and they didn't make that different enough from the original movie to make it worthwhile, to make it its own. And so they didn't stay like, I don't know. I'm losing my analogies here, but it's like, if you're going to have the guardrails for Ghostbusters, just like you are with Star Wars, you got to keep inside those guardrails and kind of make it its thing. You can add different tone. You can extend the story and make it its own, but you can't like rewrite it and remake the movie and then completely lose the entire tone and understanding of the entire universe that was set up and then call it the same exact thing. Like, well, I think bonkers.
I think, yeah, the thing with the Ghostbusters one specifically is like, even just in a way of making it make sense, like, you have to make a good movie for it to be good.
Yeah, it was technically terrible, period.
Like I honestly haven't seen it, so I can't give any opinions, but everything I've heard from people who genuinely like comedies and even genuinely like a lot of female comedies has been like, this movie, not good. Just not good. Doesn't matter.
Right.
But especially like when you have a franchise, if you want to keep the fan people happy, like instead of just doing a complete reboot that is like, let's tell the story from scratch all over again. Like if it's been almost 20 years, however many years, it's been like 20 years or more since the last
30. Star Wars was 80s. Yeah.
Ghostbusters.
Oh yeah.
I'm still on Ghostbusters. Yeah. But like, if it's that far in the future, just set it in the same world and like tie one of the girls back to like their dad being one of the Ghostbusters, and then like half of the fanboy just angst goes away because you can just say, oh well, they're building
a terrible sequel. Okay, we're used to terrible sequels.
There's terrible sequels all the time. All right, whatever. They tried. But yeah, I don't know. There's something about the idea of like taking established characters and just changing them that just does kind of push people a different way.
Well, you invest time in these characters, and especially as comic book nerds, we've invested an insane amount of time into some of these. And Star Wars is another back to that. Is like, Star Wars came out before I was born. I've literally had it in my life my whole life, right? Like, and I mean that's probably true for almost anybody younger than us, but it was different because we were born right at the tail end of the craze. Like I think
Right.
actually maybe Return came out right as I was born. Was it 81, 82? Somewhere. I was born in 81, so
Empire was 80. I
okay.
think Return was 82 or 83.
So I mean I was born right at like so the hype, like the insane Beatlemania crazy hype that was coming out for that movie was a thing. And I obviously I don't remember it, but and yes, I am very old. But my whole life, like my parents saw it, and like everybody I knew around me, the kids who were slightly older than me, were all like into it. Like it was a really, really big thing. Super facts, detail, welcome. And it's just it's been a huge part of my life. Like as soon as I was old enough to watch those, I was watching them, and I've seen them every year since I was super young. And it's just
Yeah.
it. You can't take established universes like that with that much pedigree and not know it and try to make something in it. Like I would like to see somebody make something new, but you gotta know it, I guess. I don't even know. Maybe you can't. Maybe you can't. Once you've captured that lightning in a bottle, is it possible you just can't recapture it? Because I mean, you took George Lucas, who obviously ran the first three movies, and he made three more movies, and I don't feel they capture. Now, to his credit, I
Oh,
think he just did his thing, and it was. I actually give that more credit in some
sure.
levels, but it wasn't.
And I
It didn't
also
capture the lightning that his first movies caught.
and I also just want to point out that like he made, how should I say this? George Lucas was not somebody who had gone who wanted to be known for making a child star like sci-fi movie. Like he wanted to do it because he enjoyed it as a kid. Like that was his thing. And like one of his dreams was growing up and making a like Buck Rogers type adventure
Sure,
story in space, which he did. But like even like he did not. A lot of people I don't think realize that like he didn't. I know you know it, but like he didn't direct Empire. He didn't
right,
direct Return of the Jedi. Like he basically gave some cliff notes to the like for plot points to the writers, like the script writers, and handed it over to another director who directed both of them. And so like he really didn't have hands on with those two, which are
right.
arguably,
The reason they were awesome.
yes, arguably the reason they were awesome. Um, and so like when he came back and he did his own thing for the prequel trilogy for all three of them, it was really him kind of in some ways caving and being like, okay, this is just all I'm going to be known for. I'm going to keep going with it. Um, which is kind of a weird way of coming at it too. Yeah,
Yeah, like why wouldn't in the prequels? Why didn't he like come up with the idea and then give it off for better filmmakers to make?
well, at that point, had he really? I mean, he really hadn't been directing movies in a while, had he? Like, I'm trying
Was
to think. I know he
AI
was.
was that his? Who? What?
No,
No,
he didn't
was
do
that?
AI. That was somebody. That was the one that started with Kubrick and I think ended with Spielberg finishing it or something. I don't remember. Um, I know he was involved with a lot of things, like LucasArts, I think, did the Land Before Time series, but and they were involved with the Fern Gully movie and different animated things. But I'm pretty sure he didn't really direct any of them. I think he was mainly a producer, kind of like with him on the Indiana Jones movies. Like Steven Spielberg was definitely the guy more or less running the show with that, but it was George's idea and his production company, and yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking through his director credits and there's not much.
Like there's the
um,
THX or whatever from
yeah,
back in the day, and then the driving movie with
American Graffiti.
yeah, and then Star Wars, and then just
That's
not
it.
really
As a
a whole
director,
lot.
that's it. A lot more producer, a lot more writing credits, but not a ton of director stuff. So it's just weird. So, uh, the question is, was Fallen Order that's the video game worth getting? If you can get it for $30 or less, absolutely. I would not
Which
pay
right
full price
now,
for that, which it may have been that for a long time. I lost track. I bought it for full price. I streamed the whole game. Uh, it's fun. It's a bit short. $36, maybe.
I think Humble Bundle has it half off right now, which I would think might be 30.
It's probably worth that. I definitely wouldn't pay $60 for it. The story's decent. The gameplay is decent. Some of the just animations of when people talk to you and stuff are not top notch. Like, it gets weird.
Mass Effect.
But yeah, like Mass Effect it's kind of part of its charm though.
Well, the original.
Yeah, but this it like takes you out of the game a bit much nowadays. Like, I don't know, it's fine. The puzzles are pretty good. Like, there's some really good puzzles, but then it gets into some with the puzzles. It's a bit platformy, and as a 3D like third person game, the platforming kind of falls flat. The combat, I keep going back to this, but the what was the Star Wars game a while ago?
Old Republic?
No.
Force
Unleashed.
Oh, that one.
So I keep going back to this. My favorite modern, if you want to call it modern, game for Star Wars is Force Unleashed, because the story was tight. It wasn't super long, but the combat was just, and the platforming type stuff was just on point. And by the end of this game, you kind of get to the point where you're kind of being cool with the Jedi stuff, and it fits the story because you're like this novice, like during the order, whatever it is. I'm not a good Star Wars fan, I guess, but whatever order they go to kill all this Jedi, you're a young Padawan, you escape, and you've just been living on your own, and so you don't really practice your garbage when you kind of get into this fight, and you kind of got to learn to be a badass. And by the time you're kind of a badass, and it's fun, but if you really want like a really fun, and it's probably aged graphically, I haven't played it in a long time, but if you really just want a badass Star Wars title, Force Unleashed was the best. 2 was pretty good. At least it kept the same action. I just think the story was kind of more garbage compared to the first one. Ditch Apex for Fallout 76 with me. Go. Well, maybe. Is Fallout 76 free?
It wasn't. Maybe it is now.
All right. Thanks for stopping by. I will check you probably tomorrow. We can play some Apex and hate our life some more. Unless maybe they fixed it because it came out a long time ago, but 76 when it first came out was touted as super garbage. So I guess I've never given it a second look. So
it's been a while now.
No Man's Sky thing where they've come out and actually redid the game and made it something worthwhile, because that's another game I'd like to get into, because it sounds like they actually made it worth playing.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm pretty sure that just the standard now for especially online based games like that is avoid it for a year and see if it's still around, and then it's probably going to be decent.
Yeah. I'd be down with that. We have been playing a lot of Apex, and it annoys the crap out of me.
Welcome to our show.
Hack the planet. Thanks, Spectre. Appreciate that, host. I don't know why it took you 45 minutes to do it, but I appreciate your host. All right, so I don't know where we were. We're talking about Star Wars. We're talking about Taika Waititi making a new Star Wars movie. Or at least that's where we got on that rant about.
Yeah, I was thinking I had seen somewhere that they announced a new TV show too, but I am not actually finding that.
Yeah, I saw a link. So I have not watched the show. It's a series on Disney Plus that's coming out by the creator of Russian Doll, which is a Netflix series. I've not watched it. The show on Netflix is about a girl who continuously dies. It's almost like a more dark, messed up Groundhog's Day, where she keeps dying and restarting that day, which actually sounds a lot like the plot.
Isn't there a horror movie that came out like not that long ago?
Oh, maybe. I was thinking that sounds an awful lot like the House of X plot from the comic books recently. I don't know if you read through that, but
I haven't read
the Power of X or the House of X, those two series. Kind of the whole crux of that entire series was there was a mutant that was born that every time she died, she reset. and relived her life, but she remembered all her previous lives. Not really reincarnation because it was her again. And so she, the whole entire time, is trying to get to a point where mutants and humans coexist by manipulating both Magneto and Xavier and just thousands of permutations of this over and over and over, and trying to get them. And that's where they finally come with this new whole entire idea of the House of X, where they basically become their own sovereign nation. And they basically, that's the only way they can coexist, is not in with the humans, but alongside the humans, kind of off separately, where they create their own laws, their own nation, where they just kind of exist on their own place, but still on Earth, still around, still doing good things because they're X-Men, but no longer under human laws with human control as an actual sovereign entity out of human nations. And the most of the plot was because she was trying over many lifetimes, trying to push that whole idea, or try to get them to a peaceful state where they don't end up dead.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if Russian Doll ends up like that at all, but just that mutant power of the idea that in a Russian Doll, from what I can tell, I just watched the trailer, was there's like one day she's at a party and then she dies during the party, and all of a sudden she's back at the beginning of the party, and then she just continually dies in different ways, but she could remember doing it. So she does different things and just ends up dying and going back to that same spot in the party. And I think kind of the end of the trailer shows that she finds somebody else that's like that too. So apparently it's happening to more than one person, but I don't know if that's spoilers, but it's in the trailer. But that person, Leslye Headland, is apparently getting a Star Wars series on Disney Plus. Again, no information about
what it is.
Yeah, I read through this earlier.
So we know there's eventually an Obi-Wan show coming. We know there's eventually the Rogue One Spanish guys spin-off thing.
Oh, I guess some back to the Taika or whatever his name is. Apparently, Christy Wilson Carnes from 1917 fame is helping co-write whatever he's working on, which that was supposed to be
From
amazing.
1917 fame, isn't she wrote it?
With Scribe, they list her as a scribe, so I guess she worked on the film on some capacity. I guess I don't know.
I like 1917. That was a good movie.
This is me not doing any research before the podcast.
As we look at our screens as we talk.
Maybe if someday I'm doing this more full time, I have a chance to flush all that out beforehand. Actually, so she is listed as one of the key writers for 1917.
That makes sense.
This other article with the Russian doll lady is mentioning that she is co-writing that. So,
FYI, the horrible looking horror movie, which I will give it credit now because it was written by Scott Lobdell, who is famous for, well, in the comic book world, because he's written comics for like ever and ever. So good on you for getting a cheap horror movie made.
Oh, so
but Happy Death Day, where the chick keeps getting killed over and over, and she keeps waking back up at the beginning of the day.
Sounds
and then
terrible.
the sequel came out like last year, which was Happy Death Day 2 You. How dumb is that?
Yeah, that's terrible. Like super terrible. It sounds just like a horror movie title, so I guess it's.
Oh yeah, exactly. It makes sense.
So the future Star Wars project for Disney Plus includes Cassian Andor series featuring Iago Luna reprising her role as the rebel spy from Rogue One.
It's the dude.
And the Obi-Wan Kenobi series.
And then Rian Johnson still has his trilogy somewhere floating out there. Kevin Feige's movie is still something or other.
Right. So lots of Star Wars stuff coming. They're going to milk that cow as long as they can and beat that horse, even though it's, I will say it's dead. It's making billions of dollars still. But
even their bad movies are still making money. So they're going to keep doing it. And they've learned after The Last Jedi that if they make something that's actually good, like the Mandalorian, people will flock to it and say, "Oh my God, it's actually good." So
Babylon B actually had a fantastic article that I saw earlier today that said Disney ordered to pay reparations to longtime Star Wars fans. I didn't read the whole article, but it's not very long. But basically, it goes on to say that there's some stuff about reparations. Reparations for Indiana Jones fans too after the Crystal Skull. So I thought that was pretty funny for some good satire on May 4th. So good on you, Babylon B. That site just has been crushing it the last year or so. Like, just they've really stepped their game up.
they've been good for a very long time,
Yeah.
but they've been very, very like it's Christian satire is at least where it started, and that's like for the longest time it was a lot of very Christian innie jokes.
Yep.
Which was great. But especially in the last few years, they've gotten more and more political with it, which has started to get a little bit more mainstream.
I think they've definitely started usurping the Onion for me. I haven't really paid any attention to the Onion now in a handful of years, and I'm now checking the Babylon B like every day. Like, oh yeah, that's hilarious. Ha 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 ha.
Yeah, I mean, every once in a while, I'll still see an Onion thing pop up on social media, but I don't really seek out either one, to be honest.
I used to visit the Onion every single day. Like, I would just that was my newspaper reading in the morning, and it's been a long time since I've really gave too much of a care. They kind of stopped getting funny when I think they got afraid of being politically correct more when things started getting really hairy, and they lost their edge.
Which I will say, I just happened to look up, and my cousin had posted a "May the Fourth be with you" meme, and it is the Emperor standing in front of the Senate saying, "I promise I will lay down these powers once there is a vaccine." And now I just ruined her not talking about it part. Oh well.
Oh yeah, I don't know. Maybe that word will get us blacklisted. Maybe I can edit that word out with a bleep.
Once there is a beep.
So I don't know. Was there any other Star Wars stuff you wanted to rant on about being May 4th? I thought that was pretty good. We did about an hour ranting on Star Wars.
Only that I still need to play through most of the storylines for Old Republic. And if there is a new Star Wars movie, it either needs to be in the far future or in the far past. And I would be very happy if they went the Old Republic route. Because that is still like there's enough plot there to kind of know what they need to work with, but it's still open enough that you could literally do it. And I think that's what they need.
I definitely would like to see that. I think it's safe enough. Like, you don't have to make up new complete, like far future, you got to make up everything, right?
Sure. Which if you're strictly going through for throwing against the wall, see what sticks, that's
right.
Where you want to do it. But if you want a more sure, tried and true, like this has worked in the past,
right.
Old Republic.
I like the idea of exploring the Old Republic. I think the Knights of the Old Republic game was super good, and like it'd be nice to revisit that and kind of just have like a, no more Skywalkers. Let's get rid of that and like go back and just deal with it.
Because I will say, anything you do in the future, especially if it does involve like Jedi and stuff like that, you almost have to have some. I mean, you don't have to, I suppose. But if Rey is going to be the one who like goes on and restarts everything, and if she's calling herself a Skywalker,
right,
you've got to have at least some reference.
You're gonna keep that thread
there, right? Exactly. I mean, you can still do spin-offs and stuff like that, but any mainline thing, people are going to expect it, and you can just not do what people expect.
I mean, as long as it's just like, yeah, Skywalker's restarted the order, and then just leave it at that. That'd be kind of nice. I'm like, just
or in like
from it.
Like the second movie or something, you just meet some like little character who doesn't have it's more than a bit part and be like, "Oh yeah, my name's Bubba Skywalker. I'm descendant of a great line of Jedi," and then he just like dies or something. And thus ended the Star Wars.
Is Rian Johnson making this one?
Sounds like it.
Yes, it certainly does sound like it. I don't know if this is Star Wars related, but according to this website, where am I at? Comicbook.com. Tom Cruise and Elon Musk are planning to shoot a movie in space.
This is
Oh God, get out of here. No idea. I'm not going to read through this. But SpaceX, blah, blah, blah. They're going to make some kind of movie, or at least part of a movie in space, like literal space. So good luck with that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I have any more Star Wars stuff.
I don't think I do either. Although I will say at this point that I wish I had about 5 or 6 extra grand. Because I don't know if you guys know this, but custom building a guitar to your specs is not cheap.
It's not. I
And I
don't
would
know
like
how bad
2.
it is, but I've always known that's not cheap. You want 2?
I would like 2. I would like to have 2 custom built guitars. And I can tell you exactly what they would be.
Well,
But unfortunately, I'm not rich.
maybe we'll just have a fundraiser. If you want Ryan to PayPal me the money, I will pay for Ryan's guitars. Whoever's out there. Spectre went to bed, so I guess that's nobody.
It's down to us.
So let's see. What else did I have? I had a couple things. First off and foremost, we've gone on and on and on tonight about having your guardrails and taking beloved characters and universes and not screwing with them. Like, you can make new stuff, but stop messing with the already made universe. So, and with the greatest of fear, I read the headline the other day. This was back just after our last podcast, probably. Maybe just a little bit before. Maybe I didn't see it by then, but apparently they are making a sequel to The Labyrinth. Yeah. I mean, just quit and walk off the set. So, yep. Sequel to David Bowie's fantasy film in the works.
Why?
I don't know. This is another one of those things. So I had an idea for one of our podcast episodes, if we really run out of like complete topics, is I have this whole list of movies that made me who I am in a certain way, and just kind of going through them and having you come up with a list, and we'll just kind of, spend 2 hours going back and forth between these movies that, like, when we were young really influenced us. If not in the top 5, at least top 10, easily probably top 5 is The Labyrinth. I have watched that movie an insane amount of times. I made my kids watch it several times already. When my oldest son was having breathing treatments on a regular basis, the only thing that would get him sit in the chair is to watch David Bowie's song about the baby with the throwing the baby in the air and the baby dance stuff. And we just watched that YouTube clip over and over and over and over while he was getting the breathing treatments. It was like one of the few things that kept him in the chair, like not fighting us. So this movie is like huge to me. I love it. I'm sure we've talked about it before, because I remember us getting into the fact that in the bookshelf in her room, she has a Judge Dredd comic, which is completely out of character, seemingly, for her in this movie. But yeah, I don't know why they're doing it. They don't really get into a ton of detail in this article, but they are apparently making a sequel. At least it's a sequel, but
yeah. I'm not horribly surprised. I mean, Dark Crystal has the prequel Netflix series or whatever it is, which I think is a prequel, right? I don't remember.
Yes, it's a prequel. I've watched it.
Talk that there are things in the work for a sequel to Willow, and
that's on my list.
And now I'm just like oh, of course they're going to do a sequel to Labyrinth as well, because I mean those all just kind of go together. Next thing you know, they'll be doing the Never-Ending Story 3.
It's just brutal. It's funny because I would rather them just spend a bunch of money to remaster the films and get them like looking really good, and then just re-release them. Like, how is it not going to hold up? It's Jim Henson puppetry. You're never going to get that back. That is dead. That art is, for the most part, gone. Some of it's come back with the latest Star Wars and JJ. They did some good stuff.
Yeah.
But not enough for me to believe that art form is back. And not enough for me to believe that they're going to use that in this case. Maybe they are. I don't know.
In the last movie I saw made by the Jim Henson Company was that stupid murder mystery comedy movie.
Oh, yeah.
And it was
I don't even. I don't even want.
It
The
was
the last real Jim Henson-esque movie I think I ever remember was that Mirror Mask movie. That that had to been 15 years ago or something. Yeah. So Mirror Mask was this like it was actually a Jim Henson movie. I got excited because there hadn't really been like a big Labyrinth-esque movie in a long time. And turns out that most of it's computer animated, though it looks very puppetry. And it was really weird. It was fine. It was cool. I liked it as an art form, but it wasn't a Jim Henson movie in my mind. Like there wasn't like raw puppetry done in it. And maybe I should rewatch it. It's been a long time, but I think it's worth a watch if you're just into something really weird and obscure. But that to me was like, I felt like they were trying to make that transition from analog puppetry to like, okay, it's the digital world. How do we still make a Jim Henson feeling show with these puppets, but do it digitally? And I don't know, like with the digital, you lose the weight, right? Like puppets have a weird weight and a movement to them because of the nature of what they are. They are
right.
fairly inanimate objects being
Puppets.
animated by us with strings and sticks. Like they aren't meant to move. And then just simulating that stuff in a digital realm never really translates. And I think that movie kind of proved it to me, as much as I appreciated what they were trying to do. And they put a lot of effort into it from what I could tell. And I didn't hate the movie. I don't really remember much of it, so it couldn't have been that good. But it didn't translate to me. Like this isn't the new hotness to me. Like,
Sure.
I don't know. I think the closest I've seen that, and I don't think that's what they were really going for, but the closest I've seen in that is the movie 9, which I love. If you remember that one, that is the little dolls that get infused with souls, and that's an intense movie. I really like that movie. And that may be the closest I've seen to like a digital, almost puppet-esque animation, which I don't know if they were necessarily going for in that movie. They very much go for that in Mirror Mask, and
it doesn't work.
It's fine. No, I mean it works for what they're trying to do, but what it is not what I want. I want Labyrinth. I want real puppets. Right. I want Star Wars puppets. I want real puppets. And hopefully, maybe with the new Star Wars getting a little more analog, we'll see more of it. But I don't know.
Maybe.
So new Labyrinth coming.
I don't think
I don't. That was on The Guardian. I guess I saw that.
In some ways, The Labyrinth could be said to be a movie that defined my childhood, but only because, and I think I've probably shared this on different occasions, that movie gave me my first real life existential crisis.
Existential crisis?
Yes. Because how do I know what is real and what is not real? What if my bedroom is indeed not my bedroom and I just don't know the difference because it's all the same? That is the nightmare I had from watching that movie.
That's impressive. Like I had some bad dreams from The Dark Crystal because it's kind of creepy. But I never had an existential problem with my life after watching The Labyrinth. Yeah, I don't know. That's
my brain was way too thoughtful as a child.
I guess. I mean, that's quite good. I'm impressed. The other thing we've talked about multiple times, I don't know if you saw this, is the new Mutants movie is getting released to digital.
Really?
So they are going to skip the theater, and they were just going to put it out here pretty soon, like in June or something. I don't remember. I lost the article I was reading, but
I mean, I get it, but that means that they really must not care about it. I mean, we already kind of knew that Disney didn't care about it. It was kind of left over from before they bought Fox and still hanging around.
But yeah, I mean, they're pushing a lot of stuff to digital this year because of the thing. My biggest fear is you're right in that the real problem will be is this won't get any legs. So one of the things we talked about in the past is how this might be a really good introduction to mutants in the universe, and we're excited to see it. I think it looks great. Like everything I've seen of it makes me really want to watch it. one of these things where it's like we took a universe, we're taking a small part of it, and we're spinning our own tone on it, but we're still keeping the spirit and the idea of it. I hope. I obviously not seen it. I don't know if they do that successfully. But yeah, so
We'll find out.
I'm excited to see it.
Is it gonna be a Disney Plus, I assume? Or
Let's see here.
Hulu or something that they own.
The one article I didn't read it enough to find out, or I didn't see it in there. I was hoping this would give a date on it, but I'm not seeing. It's the only problem with the Disney Plus thing I can think of, because I don't see anything that says one way or the other, is Disney Plus doesn't do like R-rated movies really, and this has got I believe this is R-rated or something, because it's more of a horror movie.
Might be on Hulu
then. So I don't know where they're gonna put it. Sorry, I'm terrible at these things, but the idea here is it is going straight to digital. And
according to this, it's already been released in Chile.
Oh, well, there we go.
So
I can get a Chilean copy of this then from somewhere, I'm sure. But I'm excited to see it. So I'm glad it's coming out. I'm glad it's not going to get shelved for another year. But hey, Yoshi, what's up? But New Mutants looks fantastic. I'm glad it's coming out finally. It sucks it's not going to be in theaters, but I'm super, super happy to see it. It's a bummer it probably won't get the legs it should, but maybe it'll be one of those cult classic things, and 15 years from now we'll be really pissed that somebody's making a sequel to it.
Maybe. Except by then it'll just be a reboot, because that's what they do.
Yay. What's up, Yoshi? How you doing tonight? I had something else. What else did I have? Oh, watch any movies or anything? Any anime? Any of that kind of fun stuff?
I have been slowly making my way through Hunter x Hunter, as I had said on our last one.
Oh, thanks for the host. I appreciate that, buddy.
But yeah, not really. I did discover that because I remembered Hunter x Hunter being like older and like not widescreen, and I was going through and watching it, and then I realized, because I had a couple episodes mixed up, that there is two series. There is a like original series from like 1999, and then there is one that was kind of what I'm watching. It was a newer one that they did in like 2013. And it sounds like they just pushed it out. Like I was reading an article on it, and the new series basically was airing at like 1 a.m. in Japan as it was coming out weekly.
Getting very like, little love.
Apparently, but they still kept making it until they got to the end of it at like 140 some episodes, which for an anime that is not even coming out when people are awake is kind of insane to have that long of a run, like 140 some odd episodes.
I was excited for the new Ghost in the Shell on Netflix, but then it wasn't dubbed, so I'm no longer excited for the 2045, whatever it is.
I feel like Netflix is really back and forth with their anime on that stuff sometimes. Like there are times where like it feels like everything that they put out anime wise, especially if it's a Netflix exclusive, is all dubbed all the time, and then there'll just be one random one where it's like, nope.
Well, this is supposed to be Netflix. You know, it's got the N and the logo and everything on it, but it's weird to me because I don't feel like if you're a hardcore anime watcher, you're watching, like, you might go to Netflix for some stuff because you probably just have it anyway, and that's fine. But I feel like you're on Funimation and Crunchyroll, and you're actually like watching some of those platforms. There's another one I can't, it escapes me right now. It starts with a V or an N or something, but you're probably watching those because it has a much wider variety. You probably don't care about dubs, that kind of stuff.
And if you're super duper hardcore, you probably buy a subscription to all of those things and then still go download the fan sub anyways, because they're more accurate to the original Japanese.
Oof.
crazy folks be crazy.
This guy animes. I'm not that crazy. I have purchased Funimation subscriptions in the past just to watch some shows because they had the best experience for Attack on Titan and some of those. They had all the new Dragon Ball Super stuff, which was fun, and that's where I watched My Hero Academia. So I have watched stuff there, but I'm more than casual anime watcher, but I'm not like hardcore. And it seems to me like if you're going to put the stuff on Netflix, you're probably like losing people without the dub. Like it's just kind of like take the extra time and pay for the dub to get done. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't
Yeah.
see their numbers, so maybe it's a thing and it's fine.
But you would think, especially with a name in anime like Ghost in the Shell, that's going to have a significant draw, that they would focus on making sure that as many people who get drawn to it as possible would stick with it. And yeah, I'm sure a lot of people who are like, oh yeah, I've heard of this, I'll check it out. And then they load up and it's only subs, will immediately just be like, never mind.
You say that, and now that I'm thinking about it, I almost wonder because there's multiple series. There's standalone complex,
Is that the first one?
and that's a series. So there's the movie, and then there's the
Okay,
series
yeah.
that's dubbed. But I feel like there was Rise and one other one, and I don't know if those were ever dubbed either.
Rise is the more recent one.
Yeah,
and
that's
it's not the new one, but it's the more recent
right.
one.
So maybe they didn't do those ones either because I don't actually remember those being dubbed either. Those are fun. I like that universe. It's pretty cool. But I'm big into cyberpunk stuff, and that's about as cyberpunky as it gets. So that was definitely one of my. I think so. Like for starter anime, if you were born in the '80s, that was definitely the top three for me. So the top three went. I watched Akira, which I kind of wish I didn't first, because Akira is probably one of the most beautifully animated movies of all time. I will probably fight people on that. And if you ever go back through and look at like some behind the scenes stuff of how they like meticulously lit each scene with hand animated lighting, like it's bonkers the amount of work they put into it. So it should take that crown. It's definitely one of the. But as far as watching it as a rural American kid, it's a bit bonkers.
Yeah.
So there was that, then Ninja Scrolls, and then Ghost in the Shell were like the three anime movies. They were like the widely distributed in the U.S. enough that you could find copies of it, and your friends would have some bootleg VHS version of it or something, and you get to watch it because you were not old enough to watch those movies back then. So Ghost in the Shell definitely holds a special place in my heart for that reason. It was definitely one of the first animes I ever watched, and definitely was not old enough to watch her naked android body falling from the sky. So it was a bit crazy. I'm sure I would have gotten in trouble if I was known to be watching that when I was probably preteen at the time, like 12 or 13 or something.
I don't think I ever saw the Ninja Scroll one.
Ninja Scroll's another one that I really enjoyed. It's basic, it's fun. There's some nudity and it's graphic violence, and you're just like young teenage me is like, oh, I shouldn't be watching this. Woo!
90s anime.
Yeah, it's worth going back and watching. I thought it was pretty good. It was definitely around, like it was easy to find. I think later when I rediscovered anime, so early on, a friend of mine in middle school, I don't know if you remember John Craig.
Sure.
I used to go over to his house all the time, like way back in the day. And he introduced me to a show called 3x3 Eyes, which I think is fairly obscure. I don't know, other than me, I don't know if, and him, I don't know if I've ever met anybody that knows 3x3 Eyes. But I've watched through that a handful of times. He introduced it to me, so that may actually be my very first like anime experience. But it had to have been really close around that same time with Akira and Ninja Scrolls and Ghost in the Shell. And then later I kind of rediscovered it, and this was kind of weird. I was watching TBS one night, super late at night, 2 or 3 in the morning, and all of a sudden, Vampire Hunter D came on, which is another super classic.
Yeah.
And like, what the fuck is this? And I was like, oh yeah, I haven't watched like anime since years now. And why is this on TBS of all like weird channels at 2 o'clock in the morning? Like, this was like before Toonami or any of that kind of stuff where they were playing anime on TV, and so that kind of got me back into it. And then I started exploring more. And then Toonami came out, and we were, Dragon Ball. We'd been watching Dragon Balls and Dragon Ball Z and stuff. So I've kind of just constantly watched anime since then on some level.
Outlaw Star.
Outlaw Star was great.
Was-
All the Toonami stuff was pretty good. I mean, they were handpicking the better stuff because they had to bring their best game for the Western world to appreciate some of it. But you had all your DBZs, and they played a lot of
Inuyasha or whatever it was.
Yeah, there was a lot of Inuyasha. What was the brothers? The Alchemy brothers.
Oh, Full Metal.
Yeah, Full Metal Alchemist. They played some of that, which I really enjoyed. All that.
That's good, especially the remake series, the Brotherhood one. Very good.
I've never sat down and like watched that series because I watched so much of it randomly at 3 o'clock in the morning on cable that I just never like had the gumption to sit down and watch it soup to nuts.
Well, I will say, if most of that was back with the original anime series, which your time scale it probably was, it is especially if you didn't watch it all the way through anyways, it is definitely worth going through and watching the Brotherhood series. Because fun story with that is, whereas most animes like eventually catch up with the manga they're based on, and then they either just stall or do a side story or do whatever until the manga can get headaways, and then they go back and they pick it up and follow the manga further. With Full Metal Alchemist in the first anime series, about halfway through they caught up, and they went to the author, like the guy who made the manga, was like, what do you want us to do? And he was like, I'm not going to tell you anything because I want you to just pick up the threads and everything and do what you think is going to happen. And I already know what I'm going to do, and I'm going to keep doing that, but I want to see what you guys come up with. And so that's why you get like halfway through the original anime and things just start kind of like getting a little weird. And then by the time you get to the ending, it's just kind of like, what happened?
Blood Brothers. Trying to remember. Or no, Brotherhood. Oh yeah, you said that already. So Brotherhood. So there's the old one that's just called Full Metal, and then
yeah, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood is a remake. So like the first half of it is roughly the same. There's a few nuances that are pretty different, and then like when you get to the halfway point, it follows the manga, which goes to a much better plotted storyline and comes to a much more a much better ending. Let's put it that way.
Gotcha. Man, I do love anime. We talk about a lot of anime on this. So you ever watch Death Note?
Nope.
I like that. I understand why it's very popular. I also watched the live action movie they made, I want to say a couple years ago. Yeah, Netflix. It's okay.
I saw the preview for that and I was like, I don't even want to watch this live animation thing.
It was probably better than I was expecting it to be, but it's not great. Like, watch the show, like the actual anime. It's so much better, as many things are.
I've heard nothing but good things about the anime. I just haven't watched it.
It's definitely one of those things in anime which I like because it stretches your view of the world. The nice thing about anime is they can just tackle all these weird things. They don't seem to be constricted by movie studios. Like, oh, you can't say those type of things, which is kind of fun. It was like Death Note definitely is like the anti-hero type classic. Like you like the main character, but he's obviously becomes evil with power, and it's super good. I definitely think it's worth watching through if you haven't.
One day I shall. I have a few other friends who like to talk about it quite a bit. I'm like, okay. And then I want to tell people, the more you talk about how good it is, and the fact that
the less you want to watch it,
the less likely it is that I'm going to do it anytime soon.
Yeah, that's
one day I will. And that's why I need to stop telling everybody to watch Community.
someday I'll watch Community. I have not done that yet. I haven't really watched
Just
much
a
of
reminder to everybody that it's on Netflix now, so it's easy.
Yes, I actually added it to my list on Netflix. I would like to watch it, but I have not. I'm trying to think if I really watched anything. The main thing that I have watched, other than last week I went kind of bonkers, or last 2 weeks ago I went kind of bonkers on all the anime I've been watching.
Mhm.
So we went through One Punch Man, High Score Girl, like all these they're all really good. I really enjoyed all of them, but I kind of burned myself out there for a minute. So I mostly have not been watching anything. I will say the only movie I've watched in the last 2 weeks that I can really remember anyway that was new was Extraction. I don't know if you've seen this. It's the Chris Hemsworth's. So obviously he's Thor, and obviously the Russo brothers are a thing, and they
are.
apparently wrote a book a while ago called Extraction, and it's about this kind of ex-paramilitary guy who does these contracts, and he's kind of lost everything in his life, so he just is looking for that contract that kills him type of a thing. And long story short is he has to save a kid, and the movie's really good. He is the producer on it. He doesn't direct it, but he's the producer of it. It's a book based on a book written by the Russo brothers, which is a thing, I guess. And it's very, if you like John Wick, which in the nerd community, that's like the nerdiest of action movies. It's amazing. It's super awesome. I would say this is almost to the level of John Wick good action. It's not
Wow.
as cool because it's not like a dude in a suit walking through like assassin, like underground. Like it doesn't have any of that cool backstory, and it doesn't have the Keanu Reeves coolness factor. But if you're looking for like super good like gunplay action, like nonstop, there's a ton of scenes that kind of look like they're not cut. And I'm a sucker for that. Anytime you can pull off, even whether it's fake or not, if I can't really tell the difference, but if it's one long scene where the camera's just kind of like, it's obviously a dude walking around the action, taking nonstop choreographed action scenes for very long periods of time. There's several really good scenes like that in the movie. He does a great job because for somebody who's amazingly funny, which I think he is in a lot of stuff I've seen, and he's well spirited. He plays Thor a certain way, and like he's not that at all. He's dark, he's brooding, he's just like no nonsense, badass, and it's a great action movie if you're looking for just basic like run and gun, everybody's getting shot up, save this kid, nonstop action movie. So I highly recommend it if people are looking for a really good action movie on Netflix. It's just sitting there waiting to be watched.
Nice. I will keep that in mind. Yeah, Chris Hemsworth, I've seen him in a handful of different movies that are very much the opposite of him in Thor. And so, like, yeah, he probably has better acting chops than what most people give him credit for. Just put it that way.
Yeah.
Not saying he's like the best actor in the world, but
sure. I mean, I guess most of the stuff I've seen him in is just more comedy, I guess.
like usually he's either in a role where he's a pretty face or he's somewhat funny,
right,
or a combination of both.
I would say this was definitely a departure from anything I've seen him in before, but I also wouldn't say it was amazing acting because 99% of the film he's just shooting people in the face. But the acting's fine. He does a good job. It's also got the sheriff from Stranger Things in it for a little bit, which is a good cameo. He plays a good part, and that's a really good scene too. So I guess in the little bit of the movie he is acting, he's working across from him, and it's a great couple scenes. So Extraction, definitely under the radar. I had no idea. I was just bored and like, I don't want to think this looks like an action movie. And I'm like, oh, that's Thor. All right, I'll watch Thor. That's weird. And I'm like, look, where did this movie come from? And that's how I found out the stuff about the Russo brothers retweeting something on it. I was like, because they were calling it like they had a Photoshop picture of him and John Wick standing next to each other with guns like they're about to face off. And I was like, what? Like, good as John Wick? And I was like, oh, actually, it was pretty darn. That was as far as the action goes, the technical action of the gunplay and the hand-to-hand combat. It was quite good. And then I was like, well, why would they care about this movie? Did they make it? And I was like, no. But then I found out that they wrote the book or whatever, and so I thought that was pretty pretty interesting.
Know the best story of an extraction ever told?
No.
The Canoe. Canoe? Is that the right name? The Nintendo game, NES game, Jackal.
Jackal? I don't know if I remember that one.
Oh, it's a classic one where you drive around a Humvee. It's basically like one of those scrolling, like upwards continual sort of games.
Spy versus Spy or whatever car. Not Spy versus Spy. Spy Hunter. With the car.
Oh, well, not even quite like that. It's more like the normal like a Radian like shooting game sort of things, except it's slowed down and you're just on the ground driving around this like Humvee, and you can like lob missiles or grenades in the direction your car's facing, or the continually shoot upward. All that to be said, it takes place in the Vietnam, well after the Vietnam War, but you found out there are POWs still there, so you go rescue them. You just blow everything up. Like, thanks, Japan.
Gotta love Japan.
Oh yeah, good stuff.
It is good stuff. So now what?
They did it, Steven. Well, you're not Steven. Oh my God, what the frick just happened in my life?
I don't know, but I should be a fan.
Adam,
and the
they did it.
podcast.
They did it. They broke the all-time record for largest Kickstarter for a board game.
Are we talking about Frosthaven?
We're talking about Frosthaven. That Kickstarter campaign is finished, and they took my money already, so they better deliver.
Yeah, so I resisted. I shouldn't have. I wanted to, but it was just so much money.
Yeah.
And I've spent way more than my fair share of money this spring on some other things, so my budget was not there, which is okay. Whoa, what happened? I lost video feed for a second.
It was gone, and it came back.
So yeah, Frosthaven, which is the successor or sequel to Gloomhaven.
The super big box expansion.
Yes, it looks and sounds amazing. The Kickstarter ended with 83,193 backers for a grand total of nearly $13 million. Yep. That is impressive.
Yeah, the previous board game largest Kickstarter was Kingdom Death Monster or whatever, which was 12.4 million. And this ends up at like 12.9. Which is a really big game, and as with a lot of things in Kickstarters, like they always have like, hey, if we reach this goal, we'll throw an extra this and extra that.
Right.
And this game, stretch goals, yeah. And very specifically at the beginning of all this, he was like, listen, we're not doing stretch goals. This is a huge giant game, and we're offering it like $60 off the price, but like we literally don't have the time to be designing extra things because there's so much we still have to do to get this done, and it's just so big. And like Adams was saying, we've been playing Gloomhaven, the original one, on Tabletop Simulator, which between our friend group, I think we have like 3 copies of it as far as physical copies, so like it's fine. But this box contains just as much, or will contain just as much as what that has. So I do not blame him for not doing stretch goals. However, when he hit the 10 million mark like last week, he was like, okay, I know I said no stretch goals, but we're really close, and I think we can do it. If we can break the record for the largest Kickstarter board game of the 12.4, I will throw in a 17th extra character that I don't even have any idea what it will be at this point, but I will make it up, and it will be free.
That is a lot.
There's a cat meowing.
Harrower Geminate. I don't know what the heck that thing is supposed to be, but I keep looking at that crazy.
The bug thing?
Yeah, the bug thing under the hood. I keep wondering.
It is 2 separate hives.
Right.
You have 2 different hands of cards, and like some cards, when you do the actions, will make you switch hands, and so you have to match them really well, because if you switch hands to a hand that doesn't have any cards, then you have to do your rest action, even though you may still have like 6 cards in the other hand.
Yeah, remind me not to play that character. I can barely keep track of my human scoundrel cards.
There's one starter character in Frosthaven that was originally supposed to be. So we haven't talked about the other Gloomhaven small box that
No.
comes this summer, which I already forgot the name of it, like Den of the Lion or something like that. I don't remember what it was, but the idea of it is to get it in box stores like Target and like Barnes and Noble and other places where you can buy Catan and things like that for relatively easily. And it is a single campaign, comes just with 4 characters, but it is like just like playing through Gloomhaven, but just very kind of down to the nuts and bolts. And they're going to have it like 40-50 bucks. And all 4 characters from that are compatible with the rest of the Gloomhaven games and Frosthaven. But one of the starter characters was a necromancer, and after they play tested it like twice, they were like, "Oh, this guy is way too complicated to be in a starter set like this." So they got pushed to being one of the more complicated starters for Frosthaven.
Nice. Trying to see if they have the name of that was.
I can probably find it. Did I link it to you way back?
I think so. But I'm excited for that. I will definitely be
Ah,
buying the stripped down version.
it's Jaws of the Lion.
Jaws of the Lion.
Yep, Lion.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so even if you don't, if it's a great game if you've played Gloomhaven, you just want to have some version of it around your house to play. It comes out, I think, in August is what they're aiming for. And even if you already own Gloomhaven, um, it's just extra content, 4 new characters you can get to play with your full campaign. And it's a prequel, as far as the campaign is a prequel for the regular game. So in theory, you could play it and then start a fresh campaign in your Gloomhaven box coming right out of it.
That's smart. I like that universe idea of putting it all together. I definitely will probably get that one just because I want to have some of the stuff to start playing with the kids when they're finally old enough to play with it.
Yeah.
And I think that'd be a good introduction to this type of game without having the hour plus setup time and takedown time or whatever it takes us to put that game together whenever we played it in real life.
Yeah. I was telling my roommate the other day that playing Gloomhaven on Tabletop Simulator has really made me lazy when it comes to playing regular games. And I'm like, I don't know if it's worth setting everything up to play it. Because
Right.
I'm used to just clicking a button now and it just loads it and sets it.
Yeah, even
And
the quirky stuff isn't bad enough to make it where we don't want to do it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's got its quirks. It's obviously some dude in his basement, like, scripting this whole thing to make it work, which for the most part, it works pretty darn well.
yeah.
It's just a matter of once in a while you do something on a turn or you make a mistake and you're trying to reset something. You gotta deal with the script not being able to adjust for those.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't do error checking or anything weird. One
No,
thing we noticed in the last game is
if you
like,
don't hit the end round.
and then start the new one, it doesn't do like an error check to make sure that end round was pushed first before you hit the new round, which seems like you'd be able to script that in, but I've never scripted anything tabletop, so I have no idea. But yeah, I'm glad a lot of new Gloomhaven stuff is coming out. I'm super glad Frosthaven hit that. Just it's good to see good products get a lot of recognition because obviously this is mainstream on some level to get
Yeah.
that type of. Everybody I know, like at work, there's a lot of board game geeks. Every single one of them knows what Gloomhaven is, whether they played it or not. They've seen it, they know what it is, they want to play it, or they have played it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big deal, and that's awesome to kind of know that like real physical analog board games are back in their prime, right? Like we've
Yeah.
been going through this awesome renaissance now for a little while, but it's nice to see they're still strong and then we're getting tons and tons of in-person IRL like analog board games, and I love that. Like video games didn't kill that off. If anything, they probably made them better
Yeah.
because you have the ability with technology to game crafting is a thing, right? And if you can do it virtually and you get really good at it, then be able to translate that skill back into like you can craft the game well before it goes to like some big production value where you have to print off all these cards and characters and models, and it's nice to be able to hone a skill virtually before you apply it to something like this. I don't know if that's what this guy did, but
Well, he's I've actually seen a few interviews and stuff. He's done a little bit of press this month with the whole Kickstarter
Sure.
campaign and thing. So I've heard him talk about it a little bit, and like he's basically said that he plays a lot of video games.
Right.
And like you can, knowing that, especially like thinking like RPGs from like 10, 15 years ago, computer RPGs and whatnot, like you can feel a lot of that in the Gloomhaven game when you're playing it. It's like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yep.
So,
And that's good. It's
yeah.
nice that didn't kill, because board games could have died. Well, if anything, like I don't think board games ever existed in this capacity before. I mean, you always had the
Not to
Hasbro
this point.
games,
Yeah.
and you'd have some weird things like Hero Quest and stuff that came out. And then obviously you had your dungeon D&D tabletop type stuff, which was a little more freeform than say this, but never like really well thought out board games like Clank and all these other, we played the League of Legends game, which was super fun, and like the Terraforming Marses and all these like really complicated but fun games that were just
Feast for Odin.
You could never, Feast for Odin's, or the Midgard game that we played a couple times. I find that game really fun, and you would have never got that with the fucking Monopoly of Monopoly, right? Like back when we were growing up with like the 80s and in the 90s, that's all it was like Hasbro. You had like Risk, you had Sorry, you had Monopoly.
I mean, the crazy out there breaking the rules of the way games works game was the Game of Life.
Right.
Which wasn't like today, it's like that's just another board game. But back then that was like, oh, this is interesting.
Yeah, that was probably the most out there one that I remember. We played a lot of that. We also played a lot of Monopoly, but I'd never play that game again. Like I absolutely got 100% burned out on that game. And then I dated a girl who was obsessed with it, and I was like, they had made their own custom board and everything, and like and everyone ended up in like this heated argument, and like people were getting mad about it. I'm done with this game. I'm so beyond done with this game. So I don't play, and never probably will play Monopoly again, unless there's some weird outlying circumstance that would force me into it. But I am glad to see that board games have evolved, and I'm glad that they can coexist in a world where video games exist. Like it's pretty cool. And
they both definitely have their place. Like then they're not the same niche, despite the fact that they are, I feel like, in some ways related. But like
I think game theory kind of translates, right? Like
you
have to know how to balance characters and balance the game and the encounters, and like, so I think that can translate between the two mediums pretty well, because that math, whatever you have to come up with to understand, like, okay, if this weapon can do this much damage, is that overpowered or underpowered, or is it balanced against the other weapons, or any of that kind of stuff, balancing items and armor and skills, like that translates. And it's just nice that there's so many more people out there that have done that game crafting now virtually via video games, that I'm guessing that in some way has impacted the ability for people to translate that into board games better now, which is super cool. I think that's really cool.
I will say that after Steven bugging me for the last month and a half that we've been locked inside this house, more or less, we finally have played through the first mission of Tainted Grail, which is another Kickstarter game that came out a little while ago, and I received it probably like 4 or 5 months ago now.
I feel like I've seen something on this.
It's made by a company in the UK that is best known for painting miniatures and miniature sort of stuff. But essentially, it's like a kind of a twisted RPG based off of like a weird version of like Arthurian fantasy stuff. And so, like, you are on the island of Avalon, which is where in Arthur mythology, where he went to upon his death.
Yep.
And in this world, Arthur basically had to conquer the island of Avalon when he died and went there, and make it habitable for humans. And so this takes place some long period of time after that, where whatever it was that had previously been conquered is starting to seep back into the world, and essentially your society and human life is slowly like getting weaker, and to the point where like the actual like atmosphere and everything is changing, where like humans can't really survive. And so like you're in your town, this little town, and all of the heroes or heroic sort of people in your town took off like 2 months ago to go, basically to go to like Camelot to ask for help or to quest to figure out what needs to get done to save the your world. And none of them have come back. And so you have four basically outcast secondary characters who are you now playing the heroes are gone and there's nobody left, so I guess I have to try to figure this out, sort of thing. So it's a very dark game. I really don't know how else to describe it than that as far as atmospheric wise. Like the art and everything is very gnarly, and the storyline and everything definitely has more of just a punch you while you're down sort of mentality. But the gameplay is pretty fun, pretty good. And as far as like a combining a tabletop exploration RPG style game, it's really good actually.
I was gonna say with the picture I'm looking at, it looks like there's tiles, so it's exploration. Like you got flip tiles, or
Yeah, they're technically they're cards. They're like larger tarot size cards that make up the map. And there are certain game mechanics to how, like when you go to a tile, sometimes it will reveal the other tiles around it. And then you can go from that tile to that tile. And then you have so many actions essentially that you can perform on a turn. And you have certain objectives you're trying to get. So a lot of times it means I'm using one action or one energy to move from here to here. And then this card doesn't do anything when I move to it, but then I can choose to do an action to explore it. And then there's a thick exploration guide where basically you open it up and you're given a few options of what you can do. You choose, and it'll send you bouncing back around through the page.
choose your own
And
adventure style. Like
yeah, basically. And sometimes your choices will require more energy from you, which is your actions.
sure.
And sometimes it won't. And then every time after every turn, basically after everybody's done all their actions, you have to eat food and go to bed. And if you don't have food to eat, then you don't get to recover your actions, which is not good. So it's managing your resources, it's exploring, it's leveling up, it's all of the classic board game RPG style stuff, and it's good. It's good.
Nice. That
At
sounds
least
like
from the one
Tainted
mission I've
Grail.
Tainted Grail.
The
Look it
figures
up.
are good. Yeah, I'm looking at some images and it looks pretty neat. It definitely has that, like you said, almost I don't know, gothic, if not like Diablo-esque dark feel
Very
to it.
story tell in the dark sort of
Yeah.
art.
Yeah.
The nice thing about it, well, I say the nice thing, I dropped a good chunk of money on the Kickstarter, so I got the full content thing. So right now I just have the base game with the one base campaign, but they're doing, I think I'm trying to remember, they're doing 2 expansion campaigns, and then they did their stretch goals had like 2 other entirely different campaigns. So like what I have now is essentially a fifth of everything that's going to be coming with it. So I am glad that it ended up being entertaining, because otherwise I would feel very sad about all of the money I spent.
Yeah.
There's
That's
so
the
much.
thing with the Kickstarters is like you got to be careful. It's a lot easier when you find somebody that had like the Frosthaven thing. Like we know
Yeah.
Gloomhaven's a thing. Like, is there a chance that's going to suck? Sure, but the chances are probably small because we've seen all the stuff he's done and he's got a track record now. Or if you see, maybe they don't have a track record, but you can tell they've already done like 80% of the game, and you can see like
Mhm.
footage of the miniatures and the gameplay, and like they're explaining it, then it's a lot easier. And then it's just like you get some of that sketch stuff where like, hey, we have an idea, give us $80,000. It's like, yeah, I'm never going to see this money back. I have like 3 or 4 campaigns. None of it I put hundreds of dollars into, so I mean it's not like super bad, but I definitely have a couple campaigns where just like nothing showed up. There was one with a card game with zombies I still have never seen anything from, And I don't know if I missed some of it because eventually they released it where you could print your own, but they weren't ever going to like send the cards, but they were supposed to like have like this fancy box, and it was these zombie deck building game or something.
Hmm.
And like they eventually like, well, here's what we got, you can print it, and here's some PDFs or something. It's like, oh, gross. Yeah, like I'm ever gonna do that. Spend like $300 at a print shop to.
I will say that most of the board game Kickstarters I've done have been at least either with companies or people who have a track record of at least producing it. So whether the game will be good or not, who can really say? But at least production wise, I haven't had anything that like I haven't gotten. I had some things that have been way later than what they projected. But
Board games are fun.
mm,
So my question to you, I
to
guess
me,
since we're on that and we're almost done, is are we over this nonsense? Because I'm over the nonsense of the thing, and I'm willing to have board game nights whenever you are.
I'm down.
So if you would like to set up Saturday or whatever, Friday or Saturday, whatever works best for you, let's whatever next one you have available, let's do one here, and we will set up the rig, and we will try to stream it. Maybe if it's even if it's just on our test, the test.
Yeah.
I mean, who cares? Nobody watches anyway, so maybe we'll just do it on the main one. Fuck it, we'll do it live.
Just do it live, see
But
what
we'll set it
happens.
up, and we'll get the mics, and it'll give me a deadline to, because I have everything and I have it pretty much ready to go. But there's a couple little quirky things I gotta like drill some holes in some PVC pipe for the cross member to hang the mics and stuff from. So I'm happy to do that, but I just need like a deadline, and I won't get that till we make up a night. So let's.
Well, let's put it this way. Well, as of this moment, our lockdown officially ends on the 15th. It will probably be extended because I said the word. The thing will end on the 15th. And the thing will probably continue after the 15th. But I believe the 16th is a Saturday.
It is a Saturday.
So we could just plan on that, and then just do it.
That's a week from this Saturday. I mean, I can do it this Saturday too, but we can talk about it offline. But let's do that. Let's figure it out, and let's get a broadcasted board game night because I need it, and I don't care. They can
Make it happen.
SWAT team the house. I guess I don't. I'm over it. It's bonkers. People are bonkers. All right, what else we got? It's almost time to shut her down. You got anything else? You been reading anything? You got board game recommendations, movie recommendations?
Spend money on board games.
We talk about Paramount rebooting G.I. Joe.
I did not hear that was happening.
That's something that was reported today on ICV2. Is apparently rebooting G.I. Joe movie franchise in development.
But why?
Apparently, it is a Snake Eyes.
Well, I knew there was
Judge.
a Snake Eyes movie coming.
Right.
Is that considered a reboot?
No, this is something else. Released after the upcoming Snake Eyes feature. So, there's that.
Cool. It isn't really a reboot until it's G.I. Joes, and Transformers in one movie.
And Ninja Turtles and Power Rangers. I'm sure there's some crossover with all four of those somewhere.
I am still okay. So here's my geeky comic book recommendation of the day. If you can find it out there somewhere, I'm going to look it up to make sure I don't mess it all up. But there was a G.I. Joe Transformers crossover comic book series by Jay Lee as the person who was writing or drawing it. I think it was DW was the comic book company that was publishing it. Yeah, there we go. Okay, yeah. So it was published by Dreamwave, which was a third-party comic publisher back in the day. They didn't last very long. And basically, it takes place in World War II. And so all of the Transformers are like transforming into like World War II era tanks or jeeps or motorcycles or like B-52 bombers and things like that. And it's very gritty, very cool. Like the art style throughout the whole thing was amazing. And I'm going to link it in chat right now. It was cool. Perhaps one of the best. And you guys should find it if you can and read it because it's worth reading and it's visually cool.
That sounds super awesome. I did not know that was a thing, I guess.
Sadly, there was another Transformers G.I. Joe crossover series that was happening. I think one of the companies owned the rights to the one, and the other publishing company owned the rights to the other. And the other one that came out around the same time was trash and horrible. This one was amazing.
There used to be, I have a whole series of Snake Eyes comics, and I'm sure there's a bunch of standalone Snake Eyes comics. I know Robert Layfield's doing one right now. Rob Layfield, whatever his name is. This would have been a long time ago, 10, 15 years ago. It was super good. It was like kind of his origin story type stuff. I don't remember. I'm not seeing it anywhere. I'll have to go in my box and see if I can find it because I have like the whole series. Pretty sure the whole series. But that was super good. I enjoyed that one a lot. Apparently there is a Deadpool Snake Eyes. This is fan art. Right, fan art. Yeah, that's all I got. It has been a slow week for nerdy stuff. Other than, like I said, we've been playing a lot of Gloomhaven, and I've been playing a lot of video games, but mostly just Apex because there's really nothing else out right now that has gotten my attention. We played Magic.
Yeah.
The other night. I think I will. I don't know. That kind of gave me an itch, so I am looking at maybe putting together some decks and playing those as well. So maybe I'll stream some of that one night. I don't know. I really want life to get a little bit back more to normal, so we have something to talk about other than the thing and other than just sitting in our houses every day all day. So let's plan for, like you said, we can talk about it more offline, but at least the 16th we can shoot for that as a board game night, and I will try to get all the streaming stuff set up, and we'll get the table cleaned off and all that kind of stuff, and we'll get set up. And
in the meantime, we will have a few Gloomhaven sessions online.
Yep.
And perhaps we will play some Magic.
So stop by the channel. I'm on most nights from 9 to 11 Eastern time. If you're seeing this on YouTube or something later, the only 2 nights I mostly don't stream is like Friday and Saturdays, unless we have something special going on, like we did in Gloomhaven on Saturday or whatever. So usually I'm on Sunday to Thursdays. With that said, I think we'll just start wrapping this up. Beer of the night was Critterless. Shorts give us money. And other than that, you can find my socials and YouTube channel where this will be posted in the next couple days in the panels below. If you're on YouTube later, please like and subscribe. Ring that bell. Leave a comment, like whatever you can do. Share this with people. Hopefully the numbers will be up after we didn't mention the thing. We'll
Hopefully.
see. That'll be an interesting thing. Yoshi, thanks for hanging out for this last half of the podcast. Appreciate you stopping by, giving us the host, Spectre, trolling us, Detail, hanging out for a little while there. Appreciate everybody for stopping by. Join the Discord channel if you want. That's all linked below too, where you can hang out and talk to us anytime, play games with us and all that kind of stuff. So what else you got, Ryan? Is that it? Are we good?
That's it.
All right. Somewhere in here I have a button. All right. We'll see you later. Bye, Internet.
Bye, Internet.